You had asked about channeling. Used to be called mediumship in the old days. Anybody remember that? Okay. And it has to do with, there's different ways to do it. In the shamanic tradition, the shaman decides who and what to channel, when and where. And the shaman takes charge of that whole process. Okay? But sometimes some people spontaneously channel, and it was felt, it was in some of the stories, that couple, when she wanted to channel, she would come through a person who was susceptible or open in that way. Now, got to remember, this is a way of explaining phenomena. And I can explain it as a psychologist, I can explain it as a psychic, I can explain it as a shaman, I can explain it as a mystic. All of those explanations would be valid. And they'd all be very different. Okay? Because it all depends on point of view and whose point of view you're using. What really matters, however, is the information. Not who you think it is or how they got there. Okay? What really matters is the information. Is the information any good? That's a shamanic perspective. Okay? And rather than trying to worry about who is it, where did it come from, and is it an ancient Egyptian pharaoh coming through or a priest? None of that's important in Hawaiian. Okay? What have they got to say? Is it usable? Does it do any good? That's what channeling is more like in Hawaiian.
How is if the individual gave to whom information is channeled pick? Are there certain attributes?
Different people have the ability to move into different, from a psychological point of view, that might make it easier to understand. Different people have the ability to move into a different psychological structure more easily than other people. Now, if we want to carry this into the psychic thing, then it means some people have the ability to accept or allow another consciousness into their being without disintegrating.
Looking their energy, another energy field intertwining.
In with them, yes, right.
Okay, and then
that would be more of a psychic explanation.
Right. Okay. How do you separate? Let's say somebody comes in, intertwines the energy with you, and you really,
well, it depends. If you're a shaman,
you don't want to. You don't, right? You want them to go.
Okay. People who have gotten afraid of this, or who have tuned in or accepted or had a structure which was not beneficial. One of the oldest things in many parts of the world that's used for that is called exorcism, which consists of prayers and sometimes making it physically uncomfortable for the entity to stay. Okay? Such as burning with fire, that was one way. Okay? But half drowning, and a lot of lesser ways. Among the shamans, however, this isn't a problem because the shaman is in charge. You never give up your consciousness and awareness. In a form of religion called spiritualism, people do give up their awareness and very often don't remember at all what was happening while they were channeling. When it's positive, why sometimes good, helpful information can come out. But the energy, the personality, the energy field, the effect of it, the feel of it, definitely changes to a different pattern. Now, whether that's coming from within the person, whether that's coming from outside the person, is a matter of point of view. Okay?
How does the shaman stay in charge? Because let's say, if I'm accepting that information, somebody's consciousness gets intertwined with mine, I receive the information, thank you very much, but I want them to
out, sure.
To get healed somewhere
Say,
else.
scat, out.
They're not leaving.
What? Oh, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Sure they do. If you're a shaman, if you're a shaman, they leave.
They leave and then they come back. And I don't
No, not if you're a shaman with the skill. You don't do this until you have the skill, okay, by practice. And the main practice for anything like this is to developing an unshakable, unwaverable, unquestionable confidence. That's it. I just gave it right there in a nutshell. All the secrets away, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes?
This may be just the opposite. Could you tell me a little bit about the grokking?
Grokking, right. Actually, there's a relationship here. Grokking is a word that we have borrowed from Robert Heinlein and his book, Stranger in a Strange Land, because there is a Hawaiian practice and a shamanic practice which is virtually identical. The ability to tip people over into another world came from Heinlein's imagination, but the ability to become someone or something else, called shape-changing sometimes in shamanism, and kulike in Hawaiian, is a shamanic skill that's found all over the world, okay? And it's an aspect of channeling, okay? Because if a shaman wants a trained, when I say shaman, I'm talking about a trained person, who might want to specialize in channeling, and not all of them do, he will grok the person or entity or thing that he wants to channel, which means he'll become one with it. But never losing what we call, for the sake of convenience, the 1% shaman, which is always a 1%, and again, this is a figurative thing, but a 1% awareness of who you are. Okay? So you never let your consciousness go completely when you're doing this.
Now,
Okay.
can I ask a question here? Does this mean shaman goes into the energy field of that thing, or the other way around? Do you allow
Okay, I understand the question. The question is it the shaman goes into the energy field of the other thing or the other way around? Now, I'm coming from my tradition, so I'm going to explain it according to my tradition, okay? Everybody's energy is everywhere. It's more like tuning in than it is like going anywhere, okay? So all the fields are all intertwined right now. Just like all the radio broadcasts for all the stations are happening simultaneously right now. And you tune into the one you want.
So that's grokking.
Grokking is more than just tuning in. Grokking is actually taking on all of the characteristics of the thing you're grokking. So it would be like some kinds of channeling is done where a person simply hears voices and repeats what they hear, or sees entities and passes along messages. And some of it is done like grokking, where they appear to turn into the person that they're getting information from.
So you
Okay.
still didn't answer which way it happened. Which way it happened? You as a shaman went into...
I told you you're not going anywhere. I'm explaining it from my tradition. You don't go anywhere.
So
You tune in.
You're merging.
And it's a question of how much of you tunes in. So yes, you're merging with that. It would be as if I were listening to a radio program, to use this one again, and the radio program were, I don't know, talking about the three bears, and I can tune in simply by listening, hearing the program. I can tune in by really catching the undertones and more of a feeling of what the bear's thinking and analyzing and thinking about it more deeply, or I can act out the bear. Okay? And the first actors were shamans. This is what they did. They took on the role and played the role. And and this still happens sometimes when people are doing this. Even actors sometimes forget who they are. Yes?
Just for clarification, Paula. If all power comes from within, which is the sixth principle, then nothing's happening to you that you're not allowing to happen to you. So in that sense, you're always the one that's moving in. You're the one that's initiating. And
Well,
That's a supposition.
well, I'm saying...
Of course, it's all supposition.
From the sixth principle that all power comes from within.
we assume, like Fern is saying, we assume that all power comes from within. Now, it doesn't mean that a person is always consciously allowing, okay? I mean, a person who has, let's say, a deep fear of something might find themselves tuning into that without being consciously aware of it and feel like they have no control over it. That can certainly happen. See? But there has to be a link. The link has to be in some set of beliefs or expectations before you can make that attunement. Okay? And so it's not always conscious, but the person always has an ability somewhere, and sometimes another person has to help bring that out, but everybody has the ability to say yay or nay. If you don't think you do, then you're in trouble.
Because
Yes.
I've experienced when the information, somebody's field of energy flowed into me, I was kind of curious at first, but then I realized I really don't want that.
Sure.
And that person seems to, or the entity comes in and intertwines their energy with mine, and I
Yeah, well, let's understand
don't know
something.
how to get
Yeah,
rid of it.
okay. Words,
I don't know
we're
how-
talking about the energy being intertwined with yours. Words play a very important role in how we're able to express our abilities and how we're able to change things. Okay? The reason for that is that words serve to focus our attention in a particular way. And if we focus our attention in a particular way with certain words, the words can either free us or trap us. So let's look at this just briefly here. There's no intertwining of energy any more than the radio stations that are going on are intertwined.
Okay,
Okay? If you use that word, you get stuck in the concept.
let's
Okay?
dismiss that one.
So drop that word. The only thing that's happening is that for whatever reason, part of you is attracted to that pattern.
I don't want it now. How do I get
Fine. As you develop confidence and decide not to have it, and learn how to relax as you make that decision, it becomes easier for it to go away and you turn your attention elsewhere.
So relaxing and turning your attention, I guess.
That's right.
Not being afraid that that thing is going to come in.
That's right. You got to remove the fear.